Hey guys, Mark Inneo here. I'm here with my good friend Cameron Munro, and we're hanging out at the Equity Farm today, but a lot of people don't know that Cam and his beautiful wife Tess live on a very special country property in Saskatchewan. So we're going to catch up the way country boys do. We're going to rap about real estate, and we want you to come along for the ride.
Let's do it.
Well, this has been like the perfect close to a great day, man. We've been talking about getting together for a while.
Yeah.
And we were hanging out for 4 or 5 hours, shooting the shit, talking about real estate. We shot some guns. We did all the stuff that we're often too busy to do, but we have the ability to do because we live out in the country. Yeah. And it's been great having you with us, man. And maybe someday I will venture out to Saskatchewan.
Yeah, no, we'll have to have you out there. There's a lot of adventure to be had out there, and I appreciate you having me out here. Like what you guys have built here is amazing.
Thanks, man.
To see the Equity Farm in person is phenomenal. You guys have literally built a paradise here.
Right.
And
thank you.
I'm sure there's a story to it. Like you don't just land on something like this. And, anybody who's kind of hung out with this here, like knows visually how beautiful it is here. So,
you have
fill me in.
You have no idea. You want to hear the story?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you the story, man. So first of all, the backstory, without getting too too far back, but there was two things that got me into real estate, and that was because we had a hobby farm when I was a kid, and got to do all the things like dirt bikes and stuff like that my kids get to do. And so I wanted a country property for my family, but of course I didn't know my family then. This is years before I met Mary. And so I wanted to have a place out in the country. I wanted to somehow afford Mary the opportunity, if she wanted to take time off from her career. Now, again, I didn't know Mary, but my dad did that for my mom. And he had a teaching. He was a vice principal and a teacher, but he also invested in real estate. So, anyway, my mom took some time off, and so I wanted to afford my future wife, if she wanted to, and if we had kids, the opportunity to take some time off. So that and the country property were my two drivers. It was a funny thing because I was a musician, man. I was making like $25,000 a year, and so anyway. 11 years regarding this property in particular. So, and just for context, this property is 76 acres. It's got 2 kilometer water frontage. It's on a dead end road. Yeah. It's in a beautiful area. It's in wine country and stuff. But I looked for this property for 11 years. We were talking about Grant Cardone and how he searched for Elena. Man. He was like looking for. I was looking for this property and my wife for like a long time. And I was blessed to find both of them. And I remember there was a couple properties, again, every time I was finding these country properties that were derelict and neglected, and I was going to the NPCA, which is our Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, to find out if there was any problems or if there was any floodplain issues or whatever. They were all sort of near water. And anyway, long story short, this property came up after 11 years of searching, and I had already met Mary. We were together, and she was pregnant with Stefano, my son, and her mom was actually dying of cancer, man. And this property came up, and I said, I know the timing is really bad, babe, but we should probably take a look at it. She said, you go take a look at it. I mean, she was dealing with a bunch of stuff.
Of course, there's a lot going on there.
So, long story short, I contact the broker, and I did a little bit of research because the ad was so bizarre, man. The MLS listing was like 76 acres. Buildings are not able to be seen. It was derelict, right? So it was a mess. And it said extensive water frontage, but that was it. So I looked up the pin and found where it was on the map, and I said to Mary, I said, I think this is like 2 kilometers of waterfront.
Yeah.
You know. So needless to say, went in and I put together my best offer. By this point, we already had a bunch of student properties, and we had lines of credit based on the equity we had in that.
Right.
And so we had like 350 or 400,000 available.
Yeah, available.
Available, yeah. And but that was it though,
Yeah.
you know, which is funny because like, I mean, anyway, it was a lot of money back then, right?
Yeah.
So I went in and I put this case together, this thing, like, this is why you're asking $500,000. So we found this property, it was listed for $500,000.
Right.
And I put a case together that it was worth $326,000.
Right,
man.
right.
And it was like, and here's my 10 reasons why and whatever. And the owners were 2 guys that bought this property. They bought it 20 or 25 years before at auction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's a whole other story. But the guy lost it. He was you know, he was growing drugs and selling drugs off the property. And anyway, he lost it. These guys bought it, let it go derelict for 25 years. So it was the 2 of them and the broker in the office. And that was the first time of 3 times that I got kicked out of the office.
Yeah.
And as you know, like, you know, especially as a house flipper and stuff, you always, if it's on the MLS, you always deal directly with the listing broker. You don't, or the listing agent. You don't need your own agent necessarily in there. So to keep the commissions under control, went in, dealt with this guy.
I always find it helps to be as close to the seller as possible.
Yeah, man. It really, at the end of the day, we could sit down with a glass of wine and you know, do that.
Yeah.
And hammer out a deal. So they were very upset, and I got kicked out of the office.
Yeah.
And every time, and I got to tell you, I was 3 times kicked out of the office. And the interesting thing was, because this property was a mess, it was a jungle. It was literally 25 years of just overgrowth. I mean, it was a forest. We're sitting here by the bonfire pit now, and behind me you see the house that we built, but which is like a barn or whatever. But this was a crazy jungle. And because of that, my only competition were the local farmers. And the fields were actually being managed by one of the farmers, and they had put low offers too. And farmers, I mean, and you know, you come from a farming family and you're married into a big time farming family. They're the best negotiators, man. Like they're like, and I was sitting here thinking, man, I'm talking about my potential dream property. And I'm basically just bidding against like hardcore farmers. So like my $326,000 bid was probably still way above their bid, which was awesome. So anyway, I came back in with subsequent bids and got kicked out of the office 2 more times. And they were like legitimately pissed off at me because they thought surely they could sell this thing for $500,000. They bought it again. They wanted to build condominiums on the water, and of course we know that you can't do that.
Yeah, that's a very niche. It's a very niche project, you know, especially kind of where we are and stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, the way we ended up getting this property, and it was probably you know, we've talked about a bunch of different types of investments. We talked today about commercial multifamily. We talked about single family residential. We've talked about fix and flips, and Mary and I still have a bunch of SDRs. And this was our first development. Now today I'm a licensed builder. I'm not building anything at the moment. But this was the first house I built. And talk about development, man. So long story short, I want to tell you about how we closed the deal on this one. It was June of 2010, if memory serves. And it was right when the GST was changing to HST, right? So we were going from whatever it was, 7 or 8% to 13%, right?
Big jump.
And it was a big thing. Now, because this was a farm, I could sell the fact that I would be on the hook on the sale of the property, I'd be on the hook for the HST because it's a commercial property. Now, I had already perhaps had a meeting with an accountant and knew that because of what I wanted to do residentially for my own residence, that it would be considered residential. So I knew that there wasn't going to be and it was kind of a Hail Mary because at this point I've pissed them off 3 times, right? And I have to say, the other thing that saved me in this deal was the fact that this particular broker, and some of my best friends are real estate agents, and these days, man, we're talking like drone footage and like the most incredible videos these guys are doing, right? And marketing, like thousands of dollars in marketing. This particular agent just put on little tiny blurb, extensive water frontage, buildings are not accessible, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And
very light on the details.
Yeah, no aerial photography.
Yeah.
Man, if there wasn't even drones available, which there was,
Right.
I would have got a plane and said, take a picture of this property.
Totally.
I mean, it's an amazing thing. So anyway, my final pitch, I went back in, I said, look, I understand you've made it quite clear you're not interested in doing business with me. You're asking $500,000.
Yeah.
I'm at $350,000. This is my final and last offer.
Yeah.
I said in like 13 days, the GST is going to change to HST, and
Right.
you've lost me forever.
Right.
My final offer is $400,000 cash as is. I'm going to take this mess
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
and after the 10th of July or June, whatever it is,
Right.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And I remember I was sitting in a Starbucks, and I sent that email, and I was sitting in a Starbucks waiting for Mary, who was at a bridal shower
Right.
in London, Ontario, and I got a call back, and they said, my clients want to do the deal.
Awesome.
And then I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Oh God.
Like
Stomach drop.
I think we have 375. I don't even know if we have 400.
How do we close the gap?
Yeah, anyway, so we figured it out, and the cool part of the story is the whole time this place was a jungle. Mary, we couldn't walk it.
Right.
I just was looking at like old aerial photographs of the area and Google, like we had Google Maps back then,
Yeah,
or Google
yeah.
Earth, right?
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, even that would have been good for the realtor to post in the thing.
Totally.
So we bought it. Mary and I brought out a single bottle, like airline bottle of wine, red wine,
Nice.
that we got from a flight,
Yeah.
and we toasted. And I had to knock down what was the word you said earlier?
Breaking
trail.
trail. Yeah,
I had to
break some
I had to
trail.
break trail so that we could get in front of the barn, which is now like our driveway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we toasted on the closing. And you know, and the famous quote is like, she was like, I don't know what you're doing, Inneo, just don't F it up,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I didn't know what I was doing either.
Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, it took me 2 years to clear the land, not the 76 acres, but
Right.
the 4-acre homestead.
Right. Awesome.
That included knocking down several buildings.
And it's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. And then it took us 3 years to build our home because I'm the slowest builder when I insist on doing it myself. And by the way,
I don't know. I might.
don't do it yourself. Like, you know, I could have hired a guy with a bulldozer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could have hired trades to do tiles. Like you saw our bathroom upstairs. I put every tile in myself.
Right. Yeah.
Not recommended. It took me 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's a
anyway,
blast.
the house build took 3 years, but just to go over the numbers as far as development goes, paid 400, building costs were 300, 350. Infrastructure was about 50,000 back
Cool.
then, which would be double that now.
Yeah.
And so like all in, we're like 758.
Yeah, totally.
Right, we're mortgage free. Property's worth 3.5 million.
That's perfect.
That's it.
That's
That's
a
it.
win.
But at the end of the day, it's like it's the property that we searched for 11 years. We negotiated hard on. There was definitely some like God moments there, because to be honest, like literally when you get kicked out of the office and they tell you like, lose my number, dude. Don't call me. Like, you're insulting us with this offer.
Yeah.
And yet here we are, you know, having a cigar by the
Totally.
bonfire. So
It's amazing, and I know it, as much as it is your home, I know there's future plans to kind of share this experience with other people. I think the Equity Farm has a lot to offer, and it's great to see where it's become.
Absolutely,
and where it's at today,
man.
and
Absolutely.
the vision for the future too.
And it's cool because the first building that we built was a barn dominium or whatever. It's like the finished space is like 4,500 square
Yep.
feet or whatever. And the cool thing is, because it's an accessory we built our accessory dwelling first.
Yes.
Not even really thinking about it.
Right.
We built it because we wanted the view, and so we built up at 16 feet up.
Yep.
But the cool thing is now we can actually, if we wanted to, we could build an executive home.
Right.
And maybe build it accessible for the future,
Yeah.
and maybe our kids will take this home, and we'll, it
Yeah.
could. So the farm, the Equity Farm, may provide for our family for many, many years,
Right.
So anyway,
Hey.
that's the story.
With 77 acres and 2 kilometers of waterfront, you could do a lot.
Yeah, I think we did okay on that one.
For
and,
sure. Cheers
yeah,
to that. What
cheers,
an
man.
awesome deal.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.